Baltimore Ravens might be just one step away from something that changes everything. But here's the catch. There's one specific move, one key detail. That could be the difference between watching the season collapse or saving the entire year. And I'm not exaggerating. Without this, even the most talented roster could slip. And the crazy part? Almost nobody's talking about it. But this could literally decide the fate of the franchise. The real question is, will the Ravens make the move in time, or will they let a golden chance at a historic 2025 slip through their fingers? The AFC North has always had the reputation of being the NFL's toughest division. Year after year, it's physical battles, heated rivalries, games that feel more like street fights than football. But the stat that really shows how wild this division is? In over 20 years since the league realignment in 2002, no team has ever won the North 3 years in a row. Back-to-back champs? Sure, that's happened plenty of times. Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, you name it. But a true three-peat? Never. It's like the AFC North has its own unwritten rule. Nobody gets to sit comfortably on the throne for too long. And there's a reason for that. These teams know each other inside out. Tough defenses, creative offenses, coaches who live and breathe these rivalries. Even when one team looks unstoppable, there's always a surprise, always a spoiler ready to knock them down. That's what makes this division brutal. But in 2025, that curse might finally break. The Ravens have already gone back-to-back, and they're heading into the new season with arguably the most complete roster in the NFL, which leaves one burning question. Is Baltimore about to do what nobody else has done and become the first 3-time champs in AFC North history? And that's where things get exciting, because the Ravens aren't just favorites. They look like a team ready to bulldoze their way into history. Let's dive into why. The Ravens enter 2025 on a whole different level. They're not just another contender trying to survive the AFC North gauntlet. They look like a machine built for dominance. Division champs in 2023, again in 2024, and now staring down the chance to lock in a historic three-peat. That's the kind of achievement that changes how the entire league views you. What makes Baltimore stand out is balance. It's not just a couple of stars carrying the load. It's depth at almost every position. The offense remains explosive with Lamar Jackson at the peak of his powers, and the defense is still one of the nastiest, most physical units in football. It's the type of roster that doesn't show a clear weakness, and that scares opponents. Now, sure, talking about a three-peat in the AFC North is never easy. This division has a way of humbling anyone who thinks they've got it all figured out. But this time feels different. There's a collective respect around the league, from analysts to fans, that if any team is going to pull this off, it's the Ravens. And it's not just about talent. John Harbaugh and his staff know exactly how to prepare this group for the grind of the season. That coaching stability could be the X factor that helps Baltimore finally do what nobody else has. And if you want proof of how much respect this team commands, just take a look at the predictions. The projections for 2025 say it all. The Ravens aren't just favored, they're practically a lock. According to NFL.com, 26 out of 29 analysts picked Baltimore to win the AFC North again. That's insane when you realize how competitive this division usually is. And here's the kicker. The few who didn't pick the Ravens still had them in the playoffs as a wild card. Baltimore showed up on every single ballot. That tells you everything. Even if something goes wrong, the Ravens are seen as a postseason guarantee. That kind of consensus almost never happens in the AFC North. Normally, opinions are split. Some lean Bengals, some Steelers. Occasionally, even the Browns get a little love. But this year, it's been domination across the board. Still, there's one team that keeps things interesting. Cincinnati. They're the one squad people still point to as the main threat in the North, which brings us to the next big storyline. Make no mistake, the Bengals are the one team that could really test Baltimore in 2025. Their offense is electric, with Joe Burrow leading the charge and weapons everywhere. This unit can flip a game in a heartbeat. At their best, they look almost unstoppable. But here's the problem. Defense. Cincinnati's defense was flat out bad last year, and they didn't do nearly enough to fix it in the offseason. That's the gap that keeps them from being a complete team. and from truly standing toe-to-toe with the Ravens. Still, Burrow's presence alone keeps them dangerous. As long as the offense is firing, you can never fully count them out. That's why analysts keep giving them a shot. If the defense can just hold up even a little, this team could stay in the fight. But the pressure's on. While Baltimore sits as a clear favorite, Cincinnati has to prove they're more than just fireworks on offense. The question is, can they fix enough on defense to actually challenge the Ravens' control of the division? And if the Bengals' outlook feels uncertain, the picture in Pittsburgh isn't much brighter. Let's talk about the Steelers.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
When you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you think of Mike Tomlin. 18 years, never a losing season. That's incredible. He's one of the most consistent coaches in NFL history. But as impressive as that stat is, it doesn't mean the Steelers look ready to compete in 2025. This roster is one of the oldest in the NFL, and in a division as fast and physical as the AFC North. That matters. Pittsburgh feels stuck in the middle. Not bad, but not really threatening either. That's been the story for years now. The Steelers hang around, they fight, they earn respect, but they rarely feel like true contenders anymore. And with the Ravens and Bengals rising, it's tough to see them suddenly breaking through. Still, nobody dares completely write off Tomlin. He's pulled off surprises before. But the projections? Most don't believe this is a year Pittsburgh shocks anyone. And if things look cloudy in Pittsburgh, the forecast in Cleveland is even gloomier. The Browns enter 2025 carrying the same burden they've carried for years, a lack of belief. Under Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland has had flashes, but never consistency to feel like a real threat. And now, once again, expectations are low. The track record speaks for itself. For playoff misses in 6 years under Stefanski, that screams inconsistency, and in a division this cutthroat, any weakness gets exposed immediately. Fans always hold on to hope that maybe this is a year things turn around. But the reality? Cleveland still looks far behind Baltimore and even Cincinnati. Nobody sees them as a real threat to break the cycle. That leaves the Browns as more of a background character in the North. While the Ravens and Bengals battle at the top, and the Steelers fight to stay relevant, Cleveland remains the weakest link. And that's what makes this so compelling. With rivals struggling, the Ravens' path to history looks wide open. And this brings us to the heart of the story. The Ravens have a real shot at history in 2025. We're talking about the chance to become the first team ever to three-peat in the AFC North since the realignment. It won't be easy. Division games are never easy. Bengals, Steelers, Browns, they'll all take their swings. But if there's a team built to handle that grind, it's this version of the Ravens. 2 straight division titles, a roster with no obvious holes, and a coaching staff that knows how to win tough games. Pulling off a three-peat would cement Baltimore's place in NFL history. It wouldn't just be another playoff run. It would prove this team's dominance in one of the league's toughest divisions. And that's the storyline hanging over the entire season. Every week, the spotlight will be on Baltimore. Are they finally about to conquer the AFC North's biggest curse? Or will the division's chaos strike again? Because at the end of the day, the real question is simple. Is this finally the year the Ravens do what nobody else has ever done? The 2025 season could be the moment the Ravens finally break the AFC North curse. After back-to-back titles and with one of the most balanced rosters in football, Baltimore has the perfect shot to become the division's first 3-time champs. This isn't just about winning games. It's about building a legacy. Yes, the Bengals are dangerous, but their defense still raises questions. The Steelers are tough but aging. And the Browns? They're still surrounded by doubt. All of that clears the runway for Baltimore to finally take complete control of the division. So here's the question. Do you believe the Ravens will pull off this historic three-peat, or is there still a rival out there with enough to stop them? Because what's at stake isn't just a season. It's a chance for Baltimore to prove they're building an era of dominance in the AFC North.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.